All the cells in my body are dead, but I'm alive. Story time.
I should have known something was wrong before the exam, but nothing really jumped out at me. I'm 21 years old in good shape, with no aches or pains, or alignments, perfect health really. There were little oddities though, like the fact that I hadn't needed a haircut in 6 months, or the little scratches and scrapes that never seemed to quite heal. I'd even had problems with bugs. Sometimes I'd wake up itchy, only to notice several ants crawled up and down my body. Other times I'd notice patches of dust dirt clinging to my elbows and knees, but I loved outdoors and hiked a few times a week, so the bugs and dirt didn't seem all that strange. So I never stung everything together until I got a biopsy on a suspicious looking mole. I knew something was wrong as soon as Wagner entered the room. After the usual pleasantries, he sat down across from me, a grave look on his face.
We need to discuss the results of your biopsy.
The panic began. It's melanoma. I have cancer. No. Fully 21.
We analyzed the cells and they did not appear cancerous. However, they were all dead.
Huh.
All the cells that we analyzed, they were abnormal in any way. But they also weren't alive.
He pushed out a sigh.
Necrosis can happen for a number of reasons, frostbite for example. But I didn't see any frostbite or anything else that would cause necrosis or skin tissues.
So what's wrong then?
We need to do more tests.
He replied, which I knew was Dr. Eats, for I have no fucking idea. What do you think it is though?
I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I don't know at this point.
He offered a forced smile.
But don't worry. Whatever it is, I don't think it's a big deal.
He was wrong. Dr. Wagner removed the entire mole, sent it to the lab. The analysis came back, all the cells were dead. Then he took skin samples from a few other areas on my body.
Usually, when cells die, including skin cells, they undergo apoptosis.
He told me.
As in they force themselves to implode before they get too old and turn into cancer, but the cells, they're intact. It's just that the cellular processes aren't happening. It's almost as they're frozen in time.
What could cause that? A pause, a long pause.
Were you exposed to any radiation or extreme temperatures or anything else like that recently?
I shook my head.
Any recent infections?
I shook my head again.
I'm going to defer you to a rheumatologist. I'd like to rule out autoimmune disease. I also want to refer you to my colleague Dr. Menendez. He specializes in rare skin conditions.
So he had no idea. I stared down at my skin, my arms, my feet. They all looked perfectly normal, healthy, even what's wrong with me. While waiting for my appointment with those doctors, I decided I'd tell my friend Melanie. Melanie was one of the smartest people I knew, and she happened to be majoring in biology. It was a long shot that she'd have any ideas. But what else was I gonna do? Just stare at the wall waiting for more conclusions.
I think we should take a blood sample,
Melanie said after I'd told her everything. And she pulled the drawer open, ruffling through various lab supplies. What here now? She shrugged.
Yeah, why not?
Won't you get in trouble?
Not Dr. Thompson is really chill about stuff like this.
As it turned out, Dr. Thompson was really not chill about undergrads taking blood samples in a lab, and Melanie almost got kicked out of the school. But that's a whole mother story. She pricked my finger, which really hurt actually. But she was nice to make conversation to distract me. She asked about my leave from school 6 months ago, and if I was feeling better.
Take care of yourself,
she said to me, giving me a pat on the shoulder. Then squeezed a drop of blood onto a slide. She dropped the cover slide on, and the blood instantly expanded into a translucent red pool. Then slid it into the microscope and worked at the dials. What are you looking for? I asked.
Stuff. Just wait.
I waited patiently as Melanie continued to work at the dials, squinting through the microscope. I don't really know much about biology. I'm a history major, and I hadn't used a microscope since 9th grade, but I could tell what was going on. Sort of the small reddish blobs floating were probably red blood cells, and the sea of the yellowish liquid was plasma.
I don't see anything weird.
Do you see the white blood cells?
I have no idea.
She let out a condescending sigh.
The clearish ones.
I squinted, and I did see one. I was clear spotted. and sort of on the edges instead of round. Yeah, I think so.
It isn't moving, none of them are.
I heard her footsteps on the floor as she began to pace.
Usually white blood cells are moving all around, trying to neutralize threats, get rid of infections, that kind of thing, but yours aren't. I think they're dead.
I turned away from the microscope, my heart dropping.
It makes no sense. If all your white blood cells were dead, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be able to fight off the mildest illness or infection. Even the smallest paper cut would get infected, but you're fine, alive.
Melanie paced back and forth across the lab, her voice growing excited, frenetic.
There are so many genetic diseases and disorders we haven't classified yet, so many medical miracles that are still mysteries. What if you're one of them?
She sucked in a breath.
How did life begin? We still don't know exactly. Can something be alive while its cells are dead before? We didn't think so, but you're sitting her alive.
She began pacing back and forth, back and forth. A chill crept down my spine. I didn't like the way Melanie seemed so excited, so obsessed. I nearly jumped as she stopped pacing and turned to face me. With a huge grin on her face,